But see, I can't be there. I can't be there for my brother because that man killed me that day and took all this away from my little bubby and me. I am 4 years old now, and I should not know the word kill, but I do. This is what happened to me the day he took my life away. He took my life and everything in life had to offer me.
At Dayton Children's Hospital, doctors had seen almost everything: car crashes, gunshot wounds, kids who had fallen from rooftops. But when 2-year-old Braden was rushed in for the 3rd time, even the most experienced surgeons froze in disbelief. The little boy they placed on the operating table looked like he had fallen from a 5-story building. His tiny body carried injuries no toddler should ever endure. Nurses who had cared for him before couldn't hold back their tears. They already knew this child. They remembered his sweet face, his bright eyes, and now they were watching him fight for his life again. This time, only a miracle could save him. Braden had been betrayed in the cruelest way possible by the very people who were supposed to protect him. Kelsey Martin, his mother, had ignored restraining orders. She kept seeing the man who hurt her son. Even while Braden recovered from skull fractures, she stayed with his abuser. She left her little boy alone with a violent man she knew was dangerous. And while Braden lay dying in the next room, she smoked marijuana. Yet, unbelievably, this woman faced no punishment. Not a single criminal charge. Not a single day in prison. Nothing. Police chose laziness over action. Social workers chose paperwork over a child's life. Everyone in the system knew this boy was in danger, but they looked the other way, and so Braden's death became more than just a crime by one man. It became the perfect crime carried out by the system itself. This is the story of how America sometimes fails its children, not by strangers, but by the very institutions meant to protect them. Friends, before we go deeper into this heartbreaking case, I need to ask for your help. Every like, every subscription, every share of this video helps bring awareness to children who cannot speak for themselves. Please share this story wherever you can. And let me know in the comments your city and the time you're watching, because I need to know where people are ready to stand up for children like Braden. On March 27, 2014, in Dayton, Ohio, a baby boy was born with eyes as blue as the sky. His name was Braden Dwayne Lee Ferguson. His parents, Kelsey Martin and Daryl Ferguson, were only 17 years old. They were still children themselves, but when they held Braden for the first time, their lives changed forever. In the beginning, life was simple. Braden was a calm baby who slept through the nights. He smiled often, reached for colorful toys, and filled the small home with his baby laughter. Kelsey adored him. She could spend hours just holding him, rocking him gently, or taking pictures of every little expression he made. For a teenage girl, Braden wasn't just her baby, he was her whole world. But this fragile happiness didn't last long. Just 3 months after Braden's birth, everything changed. In June 2014, Daryl Ferguson, Braden's father, got into a violent fight with another man named Ryan Adams. Daryl and a friend beat him so badly that Ryan died 2 months later from his injuries. The justice system stepped in, and Daryl was sentenced to 11 years in prison for murder. Overnight, Braden lost his father. Kelsey was left to raise her baby alone. Despite this tragedy, Braden's early years still had light in them. He was a joyful child with a laugh so contagious it could melt even the coldest heart. He loved water, whether it was the bathtub, a pool, or even a puddle on the sidewalk. Whenever he saw water, his eyes lit up. That was his happy place. By the time he turned 1, Braden had become a little charmer, a blonde-haired boy with big sparkling blue eyes who smiled at everyone he met. He was curious and active, always trying to explore the world around him. He copied adults, toddling around with determination. His grandparents often stepped in to help Kelsey, giving Braden extra love to make up for the father he no longer had. Braden was also a good eater. He chewed slowly, carefully, and always finished his food. His family laughed at how serious he looked during meals, as if every bite was important. And like most toddlers, Braden had his favorite movie. For him, it was Finding Dory. The colorful underwater world fascinated him. He could watch it again and again, repeating words after the characters, even when he could barely pronounce them. Braden also loved the camera. Unlike most toddlers, he never turned away. When someone pointed a phone at him, he'd instinctively smile. Those photos captured a boy glowing with pure joy, joy so strong it made you ache with tenderness. He wasn't alone in his little world. Braden had loyal companions, the family dogs Bella, Alex, Cookie, and Chance, along with a kitten he adored. They were his friends, his playmates, and his comfort. For Braden, life was still beautiful. He didn't know about the shadow hanging over his family. He didn't know about the father who was gone, or about the choices his mother would one day make. To him, the world was simple, full of love, laughter, pets, and cartoons, a place where everything seemed safe. But behind that innocence, storms were already gathering, and soon, Braden's perfect little world would be torn apart. Braden's grandparents did everything they could to fill the empty space his father had left. They took him on walks, played with him, and spoiled him with the love every child deserves. His cousins treated him like their baby brother, laughing and chasing him around the yard. For a time, their warmth helped Braden grow up smiling, but love alone couldn't protect him. Because into this little boy's life, a predator was already waiting to walk through the door. Kelsey Martin was just 18. She was a teenager raising a toddler while her husband sat behind bars. Lonely and overwhelmed, she wanted support. She wanted a man to lean on. In 2015, she found one, or at least she thought she did. His name was Ryan Luke St. John. He was 21 years old. At first glance, he seemed ordinary, just another young man from a working-class background. But Kelsey didn't yet have the life experience to see beneath the surface. The truth was darker. Luke had no steady job, no goals, no direction. What he did have were violent tendencies simmering under the surface. And when he looked at Kelsey, he didn't see a young woman in need of kindness. He saw an easy target. He saw a way to control someone even weaker than himself, and her baby boy would soon become part of his cruelty. At first, Luke pretended to be everything Kelsey wanted. He helped around the house, he played with Braden, lifted him up, acted like the caring stepfather, and Kelsey, desperate for attention, believed it. But behind that mask of kindness, Luke was a predator, and Braden, too young to understand, trusted him with the blind faith only children have, faith that would be betrayed in the cruelest ways. The first sign of trouble came in October 2015. Braden was barely learning to walk when he landed in the hospital. The official story: he was dehydrated after a fall, and doctors said it looked like a viral infection. But the tests told a different story. Braden's blood work showed elevated liver enzymes, a red flag for possible internal injury. Something more had happened to this little boy. But no one asked the hard questions. No one looked deeper. The system failed him for the first time, and instead of being rescued, Braden was sent back home to the very man who would one day kill him. Then came November 19, 2015, a day that should haunt every person who touched this case. Braden was just 18 months old when he arrived at Dayton Children's Hospital once again. This time, his condition horrified even the most hardened medical staff. His little body was covered in bruises. His face was so swollen and discolored that his bright blue eyes were almost impossible to see. Doctors wrote everything carefully into his chart: bruises across his face and head, strangulation marks around his tiny neck, cigarette burns on his legs and ankles, straight-line wounds across his thighs and calves, 2 separate skull fractures, severe liver damage from blunt force trauma to his stomach. And then the most chilling words of all: injuries consistent with child abuse. There was no accident here. Someone had been torturing this baby. Police arrested Luke St. John. He was questioned by Detective Lindsay Delaney, but instead of telling the truth, Luke spun a ridiculous story. He claimed he had just been playing with Braden, that he threw the child in the air and caught him by the neck, that they were boxing for fun, that Braden fell from the playpen. Every injury Luke brushed off as an accident. Even more shocking, the detective believed him. Strangulation marks? Just rough play. Skull fractures? Just a fall. Cigarette burns? Just accidents. And so, within 48 hours, Luke was released without charges. The prosecutor's office begged for more information. 4 times they asked Detective Delaney to follow up. 4 times those requests were ignored. And while the system shrugged its shoulders, Braden clung to life in a hospital bed. Somehow, the little boy survived, but his recovery would be long and painful. The court placed him in the care of his great-great-aunt, Dawn Patrick, while he healed. Doctors and relatives hoped the worst was behind him. The court issued a restraining order, making it clear Luke St. John must never go near Braden again. It seemed like the nightmare might finally be over. Braden was safe. He had survived. But the darkest betrayal was still coming. While Braden lay in Dawn's home, fighting through the pain of 2 skull fractures and liver damage, his mother made a choice that stunned even seasoned social workers. Kelsey Martin went back to the man who had nearly murdered her son. Think about that. Her toddler had just been in intensive care, fighting for his life. Doctors had held him together with everything they had. And as he recovered, his mother was secretly meeting and sleeping with his abuser. Soon, Kelsey became pregnant with Luke's child. Her family was horrified. They called social services again and again. They asked the most obvious question: if she's pregnant with his baby, how is she following the restraining order? One social worker's response was chilling: "I don't think she looks pregnant to me." It was written in reports, in black and white. Kelsey was still meeting with Luke. January 7th, 2016, she was caught with him. March 16th, 2016, her car was parked at his house. Everyone knew, but no one acted. Braden turned 2 years old, surrounded by his family. He smiled at his birthday cake, played with his toys, and laughed the way only toddlers can. He had no idea that within months, he would be sent back to the house where his abuser waited. On August 22nd, 2016, the court made the decision that sealed his fate. They returned Braden to his mother. Kelsey had checked the right boxes. She finished her rehabilitation plan. She attended parenting classes. She went therapy. On paper, she looked like a fit mother, but paper isn't reality. Reality was sending a little boy back into the arms of danger. On November 3rd, 2016, Kelsey gave birth to a baby boy. His father was Luke St. John. She named the baby Ryan, after the man who had nearly killed her firstborn. Photos from that time tell a heartbreaking story. In them, Braden can be seen holding his baby brother, his big blue eyes shining with pride. He adored him, but what those photos don't show is the shadow hanging over both children, the violent man in the background who had already shown exactly what he was capable. Braden loved being a big brother. He smiled proudly when he held the new baby in his tiny arms. He hugged him gently, kissed his forehead, and beamed as if this was his most important job in the world. To Braden, nothing mattered more than being Ryan's big brother. What Braden didn't understand, what he could never understand, was that Ryan was the son of the very man who had tortured him. A child's heart doesn't know betrayal. A child's love doesn't ask questions. Braden was simply excited. He couldn't wait for Ryan to grow old enough to play with him, to run around, to laugh together. But that future would never come. By early 2017, the small family lived together in a cramped apartment. Kelsey, her baby Ryan, her abusive boyfriend Luke St. John, and little Braden. On paper, social services were supposed to keep watch. There were visits, there were reports, but they were shallow, formal, and empty. No one looked close enough to see the truth. And the truth was, Braden was changing. He was no longer the carefree little boy who lit up every room. He had grown quiet, nervous. He stuttered when he spoke. He flinched at sudden sounds. His once joyful smile was fading. Behind closed doors, life was a nightmare. Luke had grown crueler with time. He shouted at Braden for the smallest mistakes. Slaps became normal. Punishments turned into daily routines. The boy lived in fear, shrinking into himself, no longer trusting the world around him. Neighbors heard the screaming through the walls. Family members noticed excuses for why they couldn't see Braden. Everyone suspected something was wrong, but no one called. No one stepped in. And then came February 13th, 2017, the day everything ended. It was early morning. Around 7:30 a.m., Kelsey was woken by a phone call. It was Luke's mother. She needed Kelsey to go to court with her over expired license plates. As Kelsey prepared to leave, Braden tugged at her, asking to use the bathroom. She helped him, then laid him down beside Luke in the bed. The little boy clung to her. He didn't want her to go, but she went anyway. At 8 a.m., Kelsey walked out the door, leaving her 2-year-old son alone with the man who had already tried to kill him once before. What happened over the next few hours can never be known fully, but thanks to testimony from one of Luke's later cellmates, police pieced together the grim sequence. Braden cried for his mother. His whimpers filled the small apartment. To calm him, Luke put on a cartoon, but the crying didn't stop, and then Braden began to vomit. That's when Luke snapped. In a fit of rage, he grabbed the toddler by the face and slammed his head into the wall. Once, twice, again, and again. He screamed, "Shut up," as he threw Braden onto the floor. When the boy finally went quiet, Luke felt relief. He stepped outside to smoke, leaving the battered child crumpled inside. When he returned, Braden wasn't moving. Luke placed his tiny, motionless body back into the bed and pretended he was sleeping. For the next 3 hours, 2-year-old Braden lay dying alone in pain, his brain swelling from devastating injuries, while his killer acted as though nothing had happened. At 10:30 a.m., Kelsey came home from court. She walked into the bedroom and saw her son lying still. To her it looked like he was sleeping. Instead of rushing to check on him, Kelsey and Luke smoked marijuana. Then they put on a movie. 2 hours passed. At one point, Kelsey peeked in, turned on Finding Dory, his favorite movie, just in case he woke up. Braden looked half asleep, but the truth was, he had been in a coma for hours. Then, as if nothing were wrong, Kelsey and Luke took a shower together. They had sex. By the time Kelsey finally decided to wake Braden for lunch, around 1 p.m. it was too late. She rushed into the room and found her son blue and lifeless. Panic hit. She dialed 911. Her voice shook as she screamed into the phone. "Oh God, I went in to wake him up and his lips are blue. He's not breathing. Please hurry." Paramedics arrived within minutes. Braden was rushed to Dayton Children's Hospital once again, fighting for life. He no longer had the strength to hold. Luke didn't go with them. He stayed home. And when police arrived, he slipped away. He ran from the scene, abandoning everything but his own cowardice. For hours, officers searched. Finally, at 2 in the morning, they found him hiding at his brother's place. On the way to the station, Luke looked at the officer and asked, "How's my son?" The officer assumed he meant Braden. "Your son is in intensive care with his mother," he replied. But Luke's response revealed the truth. He wasn't asking about Braden at all. He was asking about Ryan, the baby, the child he had fathered. Luke never once asked about Braden, the boy he had beaten and left to die. At the hospital, doctors performed an emergency neurosurgery. They worked tirelessly to relieve the pressure inside Braden's skull. They tried every possible measure to save him, but the damage was catastrophic. Tests revealed a massive skull fracture, extensive brain hemorrhage, critical brain swelling, injuries so severe that they were deemed incompatible with life. Braden had been brought to the hospital too late. On February 14, 2017, Valentine's Day, the day the world celebrates love, Braden's family lost theirs. Doctors tested his brain activity. There was none. Braden was brain dead. The family's grief was unbearable.
The family of a 2-year-old boy who they say is brain dead is asking the public to watch for signs of child abuse. This after that family had their life turned upside down when 2-year-old Braden Ferguson was taken to the hospital Monday in critical condition.
As Braden's family mourns, they ask the people who suspect child abuse to take action, no matter how difficult.
Find somebody, call somebody, get your kid away from it. It's not worth it. You will regret it later. Your heart ain't gonna be able to handle it.
That evening, Kelsey and Braden's biological father, calling from prison, made the devastating choice. They agreed to disconnect life support. At 6:49 p.m., little Braden Ferguson's heart stopped. He was just 2 years, 10 months, and 18 days old. The child who had loved water, who smiled for the camera, who adored Finding Dory, and dreamed of playing with his baby brother, was gone. He died on Valentine's Day, taking with him all the love he still had to give to a world that had failed him. Justice, at least, would eventually come. On April 6, 2018, after years of waiting, a jury finally found Ryan Luke guilty of murdering Braden Ferguson, but the verdict could not bring back the little boy whose life had been stolen. Braden's story became another reminder of a haunting truth. When systems fail, when warnings are ignored, it is always the most innocent who pay the price. May 1, 2018, the courtroom was silent when the judge read the sentence. 18 years to life in prison. That was the punishment given to Luke St. John for the brutal murder of little Braden Ferguson. Only 18 years for taking the life of a 2-year-old child in the most violent way possible. Many in the room couldn't believe it. Braden's family felt as if justice had been stolen from them once again. Even Kelsey Martin, the young mother who had failed to protect her son time and time again, stood before the judge and pleaded with tears in her eyes. She begged the court to hand down the harshest punishment. She wanted the world to remember Braden as more than just a statistic. But her appeal, her late attempt to be the mother she should have been, didn't move the system. The sentence remained unchanged. And then, something unusual happened. Braden's story was read aloud in court.
My name is Braden Dwayne Lee Ferguson. I was almost 3 years old when my mom's boyfriend beat me up and killed me. I don't know what I did to make him so mad that he hurt me the way he did. I don't know why he ever did not like me. I don't know why he didn't love me like he loved my bubby. I tried to be good, I really did. I just wanted my mommy that morning. I missed her. I wanted to go with her, but I couldn't. So I cried, and he got mad at me for crying. I only have a few minutes to say what I have to say, so I'll try to be quick with this, but I love to talk. The day he hurt me so bad that I couldn't never see my mommy or daddy again. I can never see my little bubby. I can never see my mama, my papa, my aunts, uncles, cousins, or my dog Bella. I am now 4. I celebrated my birthday in heaven. I should be getting ready to go to preschool, but I can't. They don't have preschool in heaven. When I turn 5, I would have been going to kindergarten, but I can't go. They don't have kindergarten in heaven either. I will never go to elementary, high school, or college. While I'm in high school, I should have been able to learn how to drive a car and graduate. I can never play football or basketball, soccer, or hockey. I will never earn my first paycheck, as I can never have my first job. I will never know what it is like to find my soulmate, date her, and marry her. I will never have children. I will never be a daddy. I will never be a papa. All of this was taken from me the day that the man killed me. I can never pick fluffies for my mommy and my mama, and I love to pick fluffies. I will never be able to roller skate or ride a bike, and I love my Uncle Tyler's big bike. I can never play with my mammal's cat. I can never hunt for Easter eggs, go trick-or-treating with my mommy, eat turkey at Thanksgiving, open Christmas presents, or see Santa. The simplest things, like eating chicken nuggets and watching movies, I can no longer do. And I love my chicken nuggets with ketchup. All of this was taken from me the day the man killed me. I can't grow up and grow old with my little brother, my bubby. This was taken away from both of us the day that man killed me. I should be there to watch him grow up, watch him learn how to walk and talk and ride a bike. I should be there to get in trouble with him. I should be there on his first day of school. I should be there with my little brother as his best man when he gets married and have a bachelor party for him. But see, I can't be there. I can't be there for my brother because that man killed me that day and took all this away from my little bubby and me. I am 4 years old now, and I should not know the word kill, but I do. This is what happened to me the day he took my life away. He took my life and everything in life had to offer me. Me being only 4, I'm not old enough to understand the word hate, but I do. It is what it's caused that man to kill me that day. He hated me so much, he beat me up and took my life away. Punishment, I'm only 4, and only know the punishments my mommy gave me, which wasn't much because he was only 2 and still learning good from bad when I was killed. I shouldn't know the word, but I do. What is a fair punishment for a person who kills a child because he was crying? Me, being only 4 years old, asked the judge to punish that man just the same as he punished me. He took my life that day, and it would be fair to take his as well. Only he will be still able to see me talk. Only he will still be able to see and talk to his mom and dad, brothers, nieces, nephews, aunts, uncles, and cousins. He will still be able to wake up and walk and talk and breathe. What he won't be able to do, if you take his life, he will not be able to hurt my little brother like he did me. Being 4, I think that is a fair punishment, and I know from heaven my little brother will forever be safe from this man, and justice will be served for me.
The system did not deliver that justice. Luke St. John, the man who crushed Braden's tiny skull against a wall, will be eligible for parole in 2034. He will be just 39 years old, young enough to walk out of prison, start a new family, and once again have access to children. For many, this fact was unbearable. It meant that Braden's death was not only preventable, it was also followed by a punishment that felt far too small compared to the suffering he endured. And what about Kelsey Martin, the mother who ignored the restraining order, who continued seeing her son's abuser, who smoked marijuana in the living room while her child lay dying in the bedroom? She was never charged with a single crime, not one day behind bars, nothing. Even worse, Montgomery County Social Services, the agency that was supposed to protect Braden, also walked away without consequence. They had ignored warning signs, overlooked repeated complaints, and failed to intervene when it mattered most. Detective Lindsay Daney, who dismissed requests from prosecutors and allowed Luke to remain around the child, received nothing more than a symbolic punishment, the loss of 5 vacation days. That was it. 5 vacation days for ignoring the danger signs that led to a little boy's murder. The miscarriage of justice didn't end there. While Luke sat behind bars and Kelsey walked free, Ryan, the younger brother Braden adored, was placed in foster care, in a way that may have been the only thing that saved him. Because if Ryan had stayed with his mother, or worse, with Luke, he may have met the same fate as Braden. Still, the damage was done. Braden would never come back. His short life was frozen in time, sealed forever, at the age of 2 years, 10 months, and 18 days. Braden's legacy is not one of milestones or memories. It is one of warnings, a reminder of what happens when cries for help are ignored, when red flags are overlooked, when a child's suffering is brushed aside by those who are supposed to protect him. He will never see the sequel to Finding Dory. He will never learn how to swim in a real pool. He will never grow up to drive a car, fall in love, get married, or become a father. His childhood was stolen before it even had the chance to begin. Instead, Braden lives on only in memories, in the photographs where his smile beams as he hugs his baby brother, in the stories told by family members who still can't understand how a tragedy so preventable was allowed to happen, and in the voices of those who now fight harder for child protection, so that no other little boy or girl has to suffer the way Braden did. The tragedy of Braden Ferguson forces us to ask difficult questions. Why do so many cases of abuse slip through the cracks? Why are mothers like Kelsey not held accountable when they knowingly expose their children to danger? Why are agencies designed to protect the innocent so quick to close their eyes when it matters most? There are no easy answers, but one thing is certain: ignoring child abuse is as deadly as committing it. Every neighbor who stayed silent when they heard the screams, every social worker who filed paperwork but didn't look deeper, every relative who turned away instead of speaking up, all of them became part of the silence that killed Braden. And perhaps that is what makes his story so haunting. It isn't just about one monster who beat a child to death. It's about the failures of everyone around him. Today, when people think of Braden Ferguson, they remember a little boy who trusted too much, loved too deeply, and was failed by too many. They remember his wide eyes, his baby voice, his eagerness to pick flowers for his mommy. They remember how he cuddled his baby brother, never knowing that the man who fathered that child was also the man who would end his own life. Braden should have grown up. He should have had a future. Instead, he became a symbol of innocence destroyed and of justice denied. Rest in peace, Braden. You will never be forgotten.